I learned through my journey as an author is that writing and putting a good book together is only 50% of the game. You know, a lot of people put the book together and they think, done, I'm going to advertise the link, it's on my Amazon, it's on here, it's on there, and that's it. But that's only 50%. The other 50% is, well, now you've got your product, how are you going to market it? How are you going to get it out so people are aware that it exists? And I think a lot of books aren't done justice in the sense that it's not given the love that it could have had to get it out through different mediums. And you know, you would have seen what I did in the campaign, Brenda. You know, I wanted to really express my creativity. You know, I think that when we become an author, we've also got to have a bit of a marketing brain switched on, because once you put it together, the real fun for me comes with how to get it out there. And so for me, it was partnering with the Connaught Hotel, where they put together an energized cocktail, inspired by the book, putting together one of the world's first book launches in the metaverse. And so people had this incredible experience, putting together a video trailer for the book on YouTube, so people could watch a trailer just as you would for a film. And this year, I'm looking at a couple other collaborations where one, I'm looking to work with an artist who's going to put together original pieces of art inspired by Energize.
I think I saw something about that. I think, did you put it out before, didn't you?
And then what happens is that we're going to raise funds by selling those pieces of art at an auction to raise funds for charity. And then the other stuff that's going to be worked on later in the year is an Energized dining experience, where the courses in the menu will be the different parts of the book. So the first course would be Awaken. So it's all about awakening your energy and your senses. And then the second meal would be about rewiring, and then supercharging, protecting, and so on. So what happens is you almost go through the journey of the book, but through the medium of food.
Oh my God. You know, I could probably talk to you for on the subject, you know, because the thing is, you're right. And so you're saying it's 50%, but I bet you put more into the marketing than you do the book, because you're exceptionally creative. Most authors will maybe do a couple of podcasts. They might not even have a particular marketing or PR strategy, but yet people do think that they've written a good book, and there are thousands of great books. But if you don't shout it from the rooftop, if you're not connected and committed to the message that's in your book, it's just going to gather dust on a shelf. And, you know, authors will say, well, why have I only got £30 royalties? I'll go, well, what did you do this month to sell your book? Oh, I thought people would just buy it on Amazon. But there's like 250,000 books and more.
And that's the thing. And that's why I think thinking different and being creative is even more important when you're not as well known.
Important.
It's more important, yeah, because if you look at the authors that endorse my book, I am nowhere near as well followed as they are. So what I have to do is work even harder to get that attention. And what I see a lot of people do is they approach their marketing like driving a car down a country lane. So when you drive a car down a country lane, you're only going down one avenue. And so if there's traffic, you can't really go anywhere. You're stuck doing just one thing. But we've got to approach our marketing like driving on a motorway. Now, when you drive on a motorway, you've got lots of different lanes that you can move your car into. And so when you lay out your marketing strategy with lots of different lanes and avenues, it means you can experiment. You can try podcasts, you can try articles, news, media, video. There's lots of things that you can experiment with because you have no idea up front which one will work.
That's it. So I spoke to a PR company, and I was saying we're very good at putting books together. We're very good at starting promotions, but how do you sell more books? Because this is my big thing, even although I kind of know an answer, but you want to hear it from the experts, because I'm not an expert in those fields that you need as a, whether you're a podcaster, an author, or in film or whatever. Even the big film, somebody said to me the other day, sclerosis. Let me go back to this first story. I've jumped a story there, sorry. And I said to her, well, I'm doing, she said, well, what are you doing? And I listed like a dozen things. She goes,
Yeah.
well, do you know what, Brenda? She says, it's not one thing. It does it. You have to do those 12 things.
Yeah.
You have to do those 10 things, because you never know what one thing will open the door of opportunity that's going to give you the biggest return.
Yeah.
So as you and I know, it's about finding the joy in the process, not the destination.
Indeed. I mean, that's when you're having fun, when you're enjoying the journey, guess what? The great thing is that more opportunities happen.
Absolutely.
When I show up and I deliver good value for a keynote, or I deliver good value in a podcast interview, the funny thing is I then get more messages saying, Simon, can I invite you to my podcast?
Exactly.
Simon, can I invite you to speak at my company? Can you speak at this conference? And so before I know it, I'm speaking in Dubai and Malta, Barcelona, America, and so on, just because people saw a previous talk that I did.
Exactly. And I bet you're winning more awards. All of a sudden this year, we're just in the beginning of month 2. I can't tell you how many awards I've won so far this year.
And that's great for
the thing
PR.
is, I'm not even doing it, and I'm being nominated, and I'm nominated for a big prestigious award that's got a royal connection, and I'm like, awards don't bother me because I'm not ego driven. I'm driven to serve others, like yourself. We're 2 peas in a pod, but actually I'm like that. I want this award. and it goes back to that whole thing of being a child and you're not feeling worthy, because I left school with no qualifications, and here I am with loads of qualifications running a publishing house, but at one point in my life I had nothing, so it's back to that. Okay, I've moved from education to business. Now I want the recognition that what I'm doing, I'm doing well, and I'm doing good, and I'm making a difference, so awards are okay. I mean, I've got loads, but they're not the be all and end all for me. Seeing somebody happy and winning and making a difference with their life, that ripples of brilliance, I call it, that's what makes me happy.
Totally. I couldn't agree more, Brenda. I mean, I had a WhatsApp from one of my mentees last week, and we've been working together for 6 months now, and he just quit his job to start his coaching journey. And yeah, he just got his 3rd client. He's got 2 speaking gigs, and he got an opportunity to speak with a Stanford University professor all about happiness. And just reading those messages and seeing his progress and his achievements, for me, is like, wow, that brings the joy and fulfillment. I mean, for me, awards are great. Don't get me wrong. I'm like you, Brenda. If you're nominated for an award, of course we want to win it. But for me, it's simply a signpost that tells you you're heading in the right direction. What you're doing is great. Keep going. Keep doing what you've been doing. So for me, it's just evidence that I'm on the right track.
Can I ask you one question? So you were published by Penguin, and which is a traditional publishing house. I'm not a traditional publisher. We classify ourselves as a professional publishing services publishing house, right? So there is a difference, because people come to me and they have to there's an investment. Whereas somebody like you, somebody like you, it's getting a publishing deal, you get an advance and all that. Okay, we know that. But here's a question that I have asked a couple of other traditionally published authors. I'm going to ask you that. How much of the marketing is down to yourself, and how much does the publishing house do for you?
I would say the majority, if I had to put a number to it, I would say 80% was me, 20% was them. So they made a couple of good introductions. So for example, they helped me to get onto How To Academy. So I got interviewed by How To Academy. They got me a couple of leads onto media. But then the rest of it was myself. So the video stuff, the trailer, the cocktail, the metaverse. And to be fair, they loved it. I think just watching me market the book just simply energized them.
Absolutely.
When I told them that I was putting together this metaverse event, they wanted to have some of their team join as well, because everyone was like, we've never seen a book launch in a metaverse, in the virtual world, and we want to see what it's like.
Yeah.
So I think that they were very impressed by how I showed up in terms of my contributions to the marketing. That it actually made them want to help a bit more. But I think that one thing that everybody has to keep in mind when it comes to working with a traditional publisher is that you're only one of many authors. And so it is impossible for them to give you too much time, because naturally their time is going to gravitate more towards the celebrity authors. So to give an example, around the time of my publication, Will Young was also launching his book with Penguin. Now, of course, if you are in the marketing team and you look at Simon Alexander-Ong versus Will Young, you're naturally going to spend more time with Will Young because he's going to make you more money. And so you've got to put that in perspective. You know, you're one of just lots and lots of authors. So when you're less well known, you are, whether you're with a big or small publisher, you're going to have to put in a lot more effort when it comes to the marketing. Now, of course, when you get to a more well-known position, then they'll help you more. But at the beginning of your journey, you've got to put in a lot of the hard work.
Yeah. And this is the message I think authors need to hear. The message you've given, and any successful author, no matter what route to publication they take, if you don't commit and know that your book has got an elixir for life, for happiness, for making a difference, for helping people who are stuck, and to move them on in some way or other, energetically, in their mind, spiritually, whatever it is, then you know you're on purpose. And that's how that you're saying when these when people buy a book, write a review, when you have your clients say great things, you watch them shine. So you probably would notice, I should be a publicist because I put all my authors in the spotlight, or people like yourself, or great people who are doing work that resonates with who I am. I will share anything because it costs nothing for me to go repost and then write 2 or 3 lines. That's like not even.
And I think it goes back to, and again, you can maybe use this if you want in the interview or the piece that you put together. But whether it's a book, your business, your product, or your service, I've noticed, and this is probably a reflection of myself as well, is that there are always 2 sales that happen. The second sale is selling you to others, and the first is selling you to you. And until you have sold you to you, the second will always remain the challenge. And so I think often the issue when it comes to whether it's publishing books, selling a product, or providing a service, is that unless you yourself believe in what you're putting out in the world, no one else is going to believe it.
Exactly.
So it begins with you. So again, you've got to believe that I can add value. You've got to believe that if somebody reads this, it is going to change someone's life. Because when you believe it, the energy that you emit will be vastly different to the energy if you don't believe what you've just said.
That's why in the program that I do in the Author's Adventure, we begin with brand, and folk are looking at you going, what's this to do with writing it? What's this to do with writing a book? What's this to do with publishing a book? And I say it's got everything, because if you don't build a deep, solid foundation and link to your values, how can you sell anything? And of course, you've got to sell yourself first, and then you sell your book and your services and everything else, you know. So just what's the top 3 things that you've noticed? I have a saying about beyond your book. So since your publication of the book, what are the top 3 things and doors of opportunity, that's what we call them, has opened for you because you're an author?
Sure. I would say, I mean, first of all, lots of things have opened because I'm an author. The first is I have got a lot more speaking invitations, and the fee that I can charge is a lot higher, because there is a certain credibility when somebody introduces you on stage and says, Simon Alexander-Ong, author of Energize, published by Penguin, endorsed by New York Times bestselling author Simon Sinek, and so on. Now your ability to command a higher fee shoots up. So I think the invitations you get are incredible. I mean, just to name a few, I was speaking at CarFest last summer, and CarFest was one of many festivals I spoke at. And because I was a speaker, I had VIP access to the VIP tent. And it was such a humanizing experience to be having a curry for lunch next to the families of Ronan Keating, Melanie C., Natalie Imbruglia, and so on. Performers that I'd seen on television over years, but now having a lunch with them in a tent. And so I don't think I would have had that opportunity if it wasn't for the book. So that's the first one. Second is it has given me an opportunity to scale things to a whole nother level. What I mean by that is when I'm running my business pre-book, a lot of what I have to do to generate business and interest is me being on the offensive. You know, I've got to go out there, I've got to be proactive. since the book has come out and on the back of the interviews and the talks that I've done, I'm getting a lot more messages coming in, inquiries and comments and follows and connections. And so now you are in the more privileged position to choose what you say yes and no to. And so I think that is something that I didn't expect as much. I mean, you don't until the book is out in the world. But it's been something that I've enjoyed, to connect with more people who are resonating with what I have to say. The third one I would say, and this is in relation to something that the author Daniel Priestley once shared in an article. So he shared a quote in this article where he wrote, "The book that changes your life is not the one you read, but the one you write." And when I first came across that statement, I didn't really appreciate what it meant until I published the book. And once I published the book, I now know what he means by the fact that the book you write is the book that will change your life. Because as cliche as it sounds, it becomes the best business card that you can have. When I meet people at events, when I meet someone of influence, when I do work with government, I can then say, "Great to meet you. By the way, as a thank you, can I send you a signed copy of my book?" Now, who's going to say no to that? Now, when they receive it, of course, they're naturally going to read it. Then they share it on their social media. They talk about it. And that in itself markets me even more. So I never appreciated the power of a book until I got mine out there.
Fabulous, Simon. Thanks very much.